Hello, Ectosage here on the Sage channel, and today a very great update came out that is going to revolutionize the way we build ships, especially in creative mode, because now you might notice these ships in front of us. They are actually stations. Yes, indeed, I built these, and if you see they move around in this blocky fashion, they are stations. Now, you might say, okay, what's the point of that? Well, you can now convert a ship from a station to a actual ship. So if I hop in here, go to info, this tab was not showing up when I previously did the previous update video, but it did show up the day after, and you click this wonderful button right here, convert to ship, and it's a one-way process, but voila, this is now a ship. And it functions just as such any other ship would be, because, well, it is one. And you might notice this strange block at the back of the ship. This is the connector block. Or, wait, nope, that's wrong. It's the merge block, because it's designed to merge things together, but can also be used sort of just to connect things for a small amount of time. But it's unlike the connector block, where it doesn't pass things through it, and it's unlike the landing gears, where it's sort of finicky. If you can use something to connect these, they instantly become, by the way, there it is, the merge block, become the same ship or station. So to demonstrate that, I'll go ahead and make another copy of this, place it right here, and then hop inside it. And if you were to look up the merge block, it's right here. Just title merge block, and it has just on and off states. And I'm really quickly going to turn these ships around, line those up, and they will connect together. So there we go, getting ourselves lined up a bit, and start reversing, and I'll try to line these up a bit more as we go. So there we go, lining us up, and you'll see that as we get close, there are actually lights on them, and they'll turn yellow. And when they do that, they sort of magnetically pull together, and now you can see when I press W to go forward, it fires all the engines, and this now acts as one big ship. Now, if I was to go ahead and say, hey, I would like to now disconnect, I could go to the connector blocks and click off, and you see it put me in first person perspective. That's because I disabled the connector block on the other ship, and the connector blocks are, merge blocks. It'll take me a while to learn how to say that, but the merge blocks have now let go of each other, and now these are two separate ships. Now, we could merge them together again, but I'd have to go ahead and get in the other ship and turn on its merge block there, and they'd snap together again. Now, if you decide that you want to make this merge permanent, so there you go, they're both on, but since they're already next to each other, it took me a minute. The second they moved, whoosh, this connected. If you want to make this connection permanent, you could of course just have the two merge blocks there and never turn them off, or you could go ahead and actually put some proper blocks in connecting the two ships. Now if we were to go ahead and disable those merge blocks, these ships shall remain connected to one another. So there we go, disabled that, and you see with one merge block off, it is now still connected. Both ships are now firing and working as one. It's very cool, very useful, and pretty amazing. Now, I kind of brushed over the idea that it's good that you can start building a ship with a station in the beginning. The reasoning for this isn't just because, you know, you accidentally cut off a piece. Oh dear God. Oh no, what'll I ever do? I can reconnect it like this. You don't need to fiddle with merge blocks or anything. You just do that and it's instantly connected again. If I try to copy it, of course it copies the whole thing. Very useful. But another amazing thing is the idea that you could do this. Let's say, you know what, I like this ship, but I want it to be longer and more powerful. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to go ahead and remove this back section, remove this cockpit. I'm going to stick this big thing on there like that. And now we're going to get rid of that. And now we're going to paste again. And, oh, look. Oh, well, that's still a separate ship, but if I was to, let's say, remove that block and place it back again, now this is one big ship. And I could basically keep on doing that if I wanted to. So let's go ahead and remove that, copy this again, place that back to plop it in, and go ahead and place that there, connect, place that there, connect. You could do the same thing with your engine nacelles. If you had big nacelles, you just wanted to build one really complex one like this, and then copy it over, and then you could place it there and then connect them to a singular main ship, and these would just be massive engine nacelles. And of course, then you can hop into a cockpit, go to the info tab, convert to ship, and now we have a big, huge ship with an assortment of engines. Now this is pretty slow still, because each one of those blocks I was copying had a reactor and gyroscope and stuff in there, but you get the gist of it. It's pretty dang impressive, and it's allowed me to do things like that thing over there, which is basically a larger thing. But I could copy this. It's its own ship, really. There's a cockpit at the front and back. It's all symmetrical. But if I wanted, I could copy it up and put it there, and just like I did with the other ones, connect it. Now, if I was to fly inside of either of these, oh, you can see I even line them up weirdly. But of course, since we are doing this with stations, that's an easy fix, because then I can just delete this and place it back in and try to align it correctly. And that sort of comes down to me not screwing it up, which I think I just did. But of course, then comes the fun of having it almost look like a strange art project. Ta-da, they're now both connected. I can now hop into any of the cockpits on this ship and pilot it as soon as I convert it to a station, or pardon, convert it to a ship. This is incredible. It allows for modular construction of pretty much all things. It's just amazing. So hop in here, info, convert to ship. We now have the very, very, very strange ship stuck together from those 2 points. And of course, if I decide I don't like that, I can always, let's just do this for speed, I could always go ahead and cut that part out and say, there we go, now there are 2 ships. If I decide I do like that again, I can of course do 2 things. One, I can make a new station. I can stick a connector block on this, so there we go, like so, and then a connector block on this. And then we can pilot and join those up. And the connector blocks don't actually require power, so you don't have to worry about powering your station. So hop in here. Actually, I don't think they require power. They might in survival, but I know in creative they definitely don't. So let's go ahead and line these up and lock them together. And there you notice all the engines instantly shut off. That is because when a ship connects to a station, the whole thing turns into a station. So now if I was to delete these, you can see now this thing's been converted back into a station. So we could do the same for that, or just delete it, because now we can copy this and treat it just as a station again and do all the edits we would usually like. It's very, very, very cool. I'm extremely happy with this update just for that. The fact that you can convert a station into a ship, allowing to have modular builds that are huge. It is very, very cool. Anyway, let's move on to actually some of the different things you might want to know about the connectors. So you've seen, or not the connectors, pardon, the merge blocks. So you've seen the basic merge block setup. Here is the same thing with these slanted blocks. And you might be thinking, okay, is that dangerous to have basically something set up like this where you're going to try to connect these two, where you have slant block. Technically it's a whole block, it takes up this whole space, right? And slant block there, you do not have to worry, it will still connect, even though you would think there might be an issue with those blocks colliding with each other. Let's go ahead and turn our merge block on. Let's convert you to a ship, and let's back up in there, and it'll snag any second now. Oof, bit of staticky whateversness, some dents, but you don't have to worry about too much of that. And now they've connected. And of course, you might say, uh-oh, well, with these two touching like they are now, full blocks, right? You said it's fine, but are they going to merge and then count this as unable to disconnect from that? No, they still, because they were the slanted pieces and the corner pieces and all that, can disconnect. And when this was, I believe, if we scroll all the way down, we'll find, because now, of course, all these thrusters are showing up, as well as everything else from that huge station I just connected to. We can find the, I believe it was block connector, or merge block 9 is the one on the small ship. And as soon as I pushed that, you probably noticed I went back in the first person. That's because this is now counting as a separate entity. We go back here, we convert it back to a ship, and we can fly away. And of course, the merge block at the back has been shut off because I just shut it down. Very, very cool. Now, if we were to do the same over here, let me fly over to the next one, you can see that there are these flat planes here. And long as you are doing the one of the connectors, the merge block sectors, or the stuff around a merge block, I'm trying to say, is a slanted block, you're not going to have to worry about it permanently merging the two together. So there we go, you can see it's merged again. But since we had slanted blocks on the small ship and the flat blocks on the large one, we're still fine, thanks to those slanted blocks. So we can once again go ahead and disconnect the ship just as we just did. And now it's named it Block 9, since there was once upon a time a Block 10, or Block 10, because there once upon a time was a Block 9, pardon. But there you go. You see a lot of stuff is still showing up here. If I press K again after I exited that, it just shows what's in the small ship again. It's pretty cool, actually. And then, of course, we can go ahead and convert you to a ship once more and fly free very gently. So there you go. Very, very cool. Now, if we did have a ship that, let's say, turn on the inertial dampers to stop, had a flat back, such as this one here, where the engines would be pressing up against those flat blocks, what we will have happen is a permanent fusion of the two objects. Or I say permanent, it's near permanent. You're going to have to do some work to resolve the issue. So let's go ahead and just show that to you right now. Hop in here. Once again, info, convert to ship. Go ahead into this screen. Let's double check to make sure our merge block is turned on. It is. And you see there's a merge block in between those engines right at the middle point. And we'll just gently back up, and these two will sort of when they turn yellow, they're going to pull together. Voila, voila, they've merged. And now if we go in here and we say, okay, well, let's go back down to that newly created block, as it calls it, merge block 11, disable it. Oh, we didn't go in the first person, we're still connected. And that's because the engines here on the side have now merged basically between that block there and themselves. So if you want to remove this ship from the station again, you'd have to cut those two pieces. And because we've already told that merge block there to shut off, you can see that the whole thing flickered and is now a separate thing that I could delete separately. So there you go. Pretty cool. And of course we could hop in there and convert it back into a ship, but it's missing two engines. We might be in a spot of bother. The same thing applies for conveyors, which is slightly unfortunate, but you know, if you're going to be in survival and you have a pretty advanced ship, maybe a ton of luggage, and you want to unload it, and you don't necessarily want to use, let's say, a collector right there and a connector right there spitting out and just have the merge block to hold them in place while it's doing it, you could of course do it this way where you're going to join up those two, and I'll just demonstrate this to you really quick. And convert to ship, go ahead and make sure our merge block is indeed on, and then super quick just line up and connect. And oops, I seem to have bumped the wrong way. Oh dear God, let us not have too much trouble. There we go, you can see that it turned yellow, pulled together, and now all the pipes turned green, saying they are connected. Now of course, if we wish to disconnect, this is where it becomes more troublesome, because you would have to go out there and actually remove that pipe to disconnect the two things, which is unfortunate to say the least. So you could remove that one or that one, and voila, now that's removed, this counts as a separate ship. You can get rid of it however you like, turn it back into a ship, fly it away. And then we come down here to this, which is pretty cool. This is something they actually showed in their official reveal of this update, and this is sort of like they called it an airlock. It's sort of like a docking bridge. I think it's actually really dang awesome. And what it is you basically have 4 of these to allow you to have a sealed hallway between the two ships. So let's go ahead, convert you to ship, go in here, make sure that all of our merge blocks are indeed turned on, and they are. And now we'll just back this up, and you can see there we got the 4 on the other ship, the 4 here. Gently line this up, and any second now they'll turn yellow and pull each other together. Oh! And that always jumps me a bit, but you can see they've all connected. And now of course we could go ahead and go into this to prove that they did successfully work. So we hop in here, we open up this door, and now you have yourself a nice little hallway. And of course you can see on this ship here that I just connected, it had the little triangular pieces there that don't end up hitting it with other stuff. So we could have technically had, if I cut through here just as a quick way out, we could have had another triangular pieces here on the other ship just to make it more connected. But of course you would not want to use anything like this, there, like that, because whichever ship is coming to dock with you might accidentally have the same thing, or like a block like this, which would then of course mean they're permanently connected until you remove the locks. Anyway, there you go, you can see it makes a nice little walk hallway, so you can go in and out of stations without ever having to actually stop walking. It's pretty dang awesome. Anyway, moving on from large ship merge blocks and station nonsense, we come to small ship merge blocks, and all the ridiculousness that can happen with these. I mean, insanity here, pretty much. I was fiddling with these for far longer than I would like to admit. But we'll start actually over here with this one. And this is a retrofit of that orange ship over there, which is the basic Cannibal construction deconstruction ship. And I've gone ahead and removed all the tools and changed the piping setup, so we have the pipes going to these connectors here, which can spit stuff out, and then the merge blocks on top connected to the main chassis through that way. And the idea behind this is, if I was to hop in here, I believe this one is set up for grinding and weapons, actually. And we can rotate it along. You see we're going to line it up with, actually we have connectors on here, so we're going to need to go up to a different one. This one over here, and hopefully I don't collide with anything else while doing this. There we go, very close. We'll line these up, connect them. There we go, they've turned yellow. They're a bit finicky, I found, but there we go, they connected very nicely. And of course you can see that the thing we just connected to has a landing gear on there. Press P, since it's now counting as part of the ship, at least control-wise, and we can now move it free. And what we have here, if I go into first person, actually, we're gonna need third person to spin around, we have a welder. And the idea behind this is, I'll hop out, that way I can explain it. You go and gather the supplies you know you're going to need to build something. You then pour them into this crate here. You go ahead and you tell this to spit things out, so it starts spitting out, and this is a collector. So connector spits out to the connector spits out to the collector and instantly funnels it into this supply crate here. And hopefully if they all filled up, this would actually stop spitting out because it wouldn't have any room. So you wouldn't actually have to worry about having just the supplies. You could have a surplus, could use a bit of testing, but of course it goes into this supply crate here, which is then pulled. This welder pulls stuff out of that to do its job. Pretty dang cool, if I do say so myself. And of course, now if I try to copy this, because they're connected, it copies the whole thing. Pretty cool. And of course we could, if we decide we're done with this, go ahead and take it back down to the station we were just at a moment ago. So let's go ahead, bring it down to the station. I'm going to drop it off at a slightly different place than I picked it up, just for convenience sake. That was a bit quick. And line this up. Wait till it turns yellow. There we go. Press P to lock it. Then we can go into here, find our merge block for the, let's do for the left, because it was on the left side of the vehicle, I believe. Actually, it was on the right, wasn't it? Turn that off. And there we go. And then any other ship with this setup can now fly over and pick it up, because I disabled the merge block on this ship. As you can see, those white lights on those slits turned black. So let's turn that back on. That way we can go ahead and pick something else up. You can see those white slits have once again turned white instead of black. And now we can go ahead and pick up another tool that would work on the same principle. And this tool is actually a weapon. And let me just gently fly. Actually, I'm going to run into stuff. I just know it. So let's go ahead and just move some of these ships out of the way to ensure we don't end up in a spot of bother. Bit annoying that I didn't think of that earlier, eh? Anyway, there we go. Ships moved out of the way. We'll go ahead and now pick up this little weapon setup here, rotate in position, and line up nice and quick. And I'll try to do this one in first person because it's kind of enjoyable. And there we go, right. Oh, come on. No, they're both yellow. They should be. There we go. And of course, P to release that one. And this one is the Gatling gun, and of course, like the other one, I didn't actually show it, but you could have just clicked and dragged the tool down because it was counting as part of the same ship. And there you go, now you can see we have this huge Gatling gun set up. And of course, if we wanted to, we could go ahead and drop this anywhere. So if we decided we no longer liked it, we could go ahead and toss it out into space. But of course, again, the stuff would be heading through the connector, spitting it out into the collector, going up into that big supply crate, or actually it's a medium supply crate, and then being used by the guns when I pull the trigger here. And of course, at any point, if you decide you no longer wish to have this connected to your ship, I'm getting us moving a bit with my inertial dampers off, we could go ahead and say, goodbye, we no longer want you here, you silly, silly weapon. Turn that off, it's now disconnected and free floating. So if I stop, it'll keep going at the speed, which you could use that in your own ways if you wished. Pretty dang cool, I frankly think. Anyway, let's go ahead and fly back down there. We got a few more things to show. This ship actually, it served its purpose. Those are the two types it would be using with its connector and merge block setup. We also have a collector and merge block setup here, and of course I couldn't just have the pipe go straight out of the back of the collector because the collector only has a small pipe access port from the back. I had to connect it into the larger one on the top, which then made me have to have this loop-de-loop. Anyway, for this one, you would be using systems such as a grinder here. So the grinder, because it's spitting out, of course, you're going to need to be collecting what it's spitting out and putting it into your big ship. So we'll fly up and grab ourselves this thing, and let me just make sure everything's set up the right way. Yes, indeed it is. And of course, I'm holding Alt to look out the side, and oh, I've gone too low, haven't I? There we go. And they've turned yellow. We're slowly being pulled towards it. Hands are off. Didn't connect, but I'll move the mouse a bit. I think that... Oh, no. There we go. Now it has P to release that. Bring it back up. And now, of course, I can drag it down and use the grinder. And if I went into our settings now, I could use the right collector. Let me just double check to make sure it's the right collector, because we should be having this collector here turned on to take stuff in. Actually, I don't even think you need to really turn on the collector, but yeah, collector 2 is turned on, and then you'll want this thing to be outputting, of course. As I've said before, the connector that I've set up the drill rig, you'll turn it on, have it set to throw out, and it'll just constantly throw out the stuff you gather using the grinder and tossing it straight into there, which will take it all around into your supply crate or however you have it set up. It's pretty dang awesome. And then of course you can do much the same with a drill, which is the other setup I have to show right here. If I was to buzz about, we're actually going to have to sorry, other tool. The easiest way for me to grab this thing would be to let you go, so gonna have to let you go, other tool. Which one was it? Yes, of course, it was on the one on the right, so I can do merge block right, release, There we go. I've let it go, and now we can go ahead and grab another tool. I really should have probably locked it in place. I'll end up bumping it, but too bad. It's just for demonstration purposes anyway. Let's go ahead and grab this one, and of course, I've forgotten a very important thing. I've forgotten to turn back on my merge block on the right. There we go, and now you can see instantly I was getting pulled a bit, and I've locked, press B to release, and now I have a drill. And long as the connectors are all set up the same way, so the connector from the drill is set up to throw out, and that would throw out anything it gathers, which is pretty cool. But I don't believe it'll actually gather anything while we're in creative mode. I could go test it really quickly, but when I was doing tests with the grinder, it wasn't gathering anything. So real quick test, just cut into here, see if it's actually pushing anything through. Oh yeah, it is. And you see there it's going into the large cargo container, so it's actually working as intended. Very, very cool. I'm pretty happy with all that. And of course I could do the right click thing just to blast away huge amounts, or of course just mine. Works just like normal with the drills. It's pretty dang amazing, these connector blocks and the stuff you can set up now. I'm pretty damn happy with them all. Anyway, let's go ahead, and the last thing to show is a less advanced way, but one that could possibly save you some trouble. Let's say if you were doing welding and it wasn't being cautious and it was pulling more than it should, or it was sort of clogging up the connector collector setup, you could have a super basic setup like this here with nothing special at the ends. And this is pretty much a permanent setup where you would go ahead and fly down to the tools you want to grab. I have to flip upside down, at least the way I set these up, and then grab whichever tool. We're going to go for the one on the right, so I'm actually going to go ahead and disable the merge block on the left to make sure I don't accidentally grab something I don't want to. Oops, and I bumped something. Rather unfortunate that. And let's get in here. Gone yellow, so it's getting close. Well, it doesn't seem to want to work, but I'm pretty sure it should work, where these two merge blocks will of course connect together, which will cause these two to make a complete pipe, just as the large ship and station did earlier with those pipes I was demonstrating there. For some reason it doesn't seem to want to work. This dang merge block here is refusing to turn yellow no matter how close I get. I even bump it away, and I'll demonstrate really quickly for you. It's being fickle. You can see I've got a whole bunch of them floating around now because I've been trying, and it's just being a pain in the arse. So yeah, that's not working exactly. One last thing to demonstrate, which is something the devs actually showed in their video, was, where to go? Using, I believe it is this one again? No, it's the other one. Yeah, this one here. And actually we could use any of them for this. It doesn't actually matter, but the idea with this is you would have, because missile launchers cannot be reloaded automatically, right? So you'd have a bunch of missile things like this on a platform. You'd fly up to it and just grab one, take it off, do your firing, come back and grab another one, dropping off your original one. That way, whoever was on deck could then go ahead and simply refuel or replace the missiles in the one you grabbed. So let's go up, grab you. There we go. These ones actually went yellow. We can't actually reach it though because of the angle of the ship the bottom was hitting. But oh god, no, I've lost control. Silly me. But anyway, there we go. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. And oh, come on. They even like merged. Oh, come on now. You get the drift, the drift of it. I think maybe this is interfering for some reason. It worked a second ago. You saw it with the other ones. But yeah, you get the drift. They're supposed to connect together. I think this might actually be a glitch considering they're both staying yellow now, just like the other ones that just refuse to merge. Yeah, the idea though is pretty simple. Like I explained, you grab one, you pick it up, you take it to combat, you fire your missiles, you come back, drop it off to be refueled while you quickly go ahead and grab another one like this. If it would actually lock. It seems like they're being finicky now, even though everything's turned on. Yes? Yes. Let's turn them off and back on, shall we? Did it work? I'll turn it off and back on. Yeah, they're being finicky. Anyway, that's it. Some glitches here and there, but it's overall pretty dang stable and impressive. That's this update in a nutshell. It's pretty dang awesome, and that nutshell was probably pretty big. But yeah, it's pretty awesome. I'm happy with this update. I'm pretty damn happy with this update, even if it has glitched out on me. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll talk to you later. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time. Oh, hey, and one last thing really quick. They updated multiplayer code, so wheels/rotors might actually work now.